Hey guys, King of Charmanders here. Today I will be your judge, your jury, and your analyst. And since a lot of people have been asking me whether or not Nidoqueen is good as a shadow or the normal one, guess what? We're just going to take a look at it. So this is going to be an overview on Nidoqueen, a complete analysis on Nidoqueen in every scenario. And we're going to take a look at Nidoqueen and see exactly which Pokemon and which matchups does each version of Nidoqueen flip. Because believe it or not, it does matter if you have a normal one or a shadow one. You'll see in the analysis that I give you, especially on the Matrix. So if you want to skip all the way to the Matrix and skip all the other fun fluff stuff, then you totally can. But this will give you the complete guide. If you watch the entire thing, you'll get a complete kind of spectrum of how Nidoqueen works and just how good it is. So as you see here, Nidoqueen is number 31, old school Gen 1, been here for a bit, and it's really freaking good. Now with the poison type debuff, I mean not poison debuff, actually yeah. So Poison Fang got buffed and Poison Jab, which makes Nidoqueen an absolute destroyer. Poison ground typing is also very, very good. With Steel Dominance, yes, Steel does resist Poison. However, because Nidoqueen has access to Earth Power, you can actually KO Steel typings at certain ranges. So it's very, very strong. What makes it really powerful is its stats. It has a very balanced stat pool with stamina being very high. So it has its stamina is very decent. Well, actually 207 isn't super high, but it's high. And it also maxes out near 2500. So Nidoqueen XL might be useful in Ultra League or Ultra Premier. But for now, we're just going to look at it for Great League, because Great League is what's out right now, and you're going to see it probably mostly in Great League, because not a lot of you, including me, have enough XL candy to power up a Nidoqueen XL. Actually, I haven't taken a look yet, but you know, I'll take a look later. So as you see here, Nidoqueen, as far as typing goes, is weak to... Poison and ground is very interesting, because yes, you're a ground type. Because you're a poison type and a ground type, guess what? Poison is weak to ground, which you are weak against right here. Poison is also weak to Psychic, so Nidoqueen picks up the Psychic weakness because of its Poison type. And because it's a ground type, you carry Ice and Water. So the thing about it is that, yes, Nidoqueen is very strong. However, a lot of Pokemon have either sub-type, like either have charge moves that have this coverage, or, yeah, basically just pretty much charge moves. So, for example, like for ground, you have G-Fist Earthquake. You know, California, we have a lot of earthquakes, and like every Pokemon has freaking Earthquake, freaking Quagsire, Gliscor, the Pancake, and yeah. And also, like, other Nidoqueens have like Earth Power. So if you get the Nidoqueen Mirror, basically, whichever one eats an Earth Power will end up on the other, well, basically you're dead. It's that simple. As far as its other weaknesses, Ice, a lot of other Pokemon also have Ice. A key one's probably Alolan Ninetales. Powder Snow A9 is definitely out there. So is Obama Snow. Also, other Pokemon do have Ice types attacks like Jellicent with Ice Beam. You also have, let's see, you also have Ice Beam with possibly Lapras. Or I would say the most prominent ones you'll see here is probably definitely Obama Snow, A9, and of course Jellicent with Ice Beam. That's probably the most popular ones you'll see. Also, Frostless could be out there too, so Ice is definitely something that's out. You could expect to see some Ice. Psychic types in Hypno and Confusion users like Jirachi, Hypno, Bronzong even are very strong against Nidoqueen. You don't want it to get matched up against Psychic, because even though it does have a decent stats, Psychic will do heavy, especially if you're doing Shadow, it's gonna do heavy damage. So you want to switch out immediately. You do not want Nidoqueen to get locked into a Hypno. And of course, water types. Now, of course, the most popular water type, which has been pissing you and me off for the longest time because it's really good, it's a frog. If you've ever played Frogger, have you ever played, if you have a PlayStation and you're like, you know what this is, you're super cool and we could be best friends. But if you've ever played Frogger, you know, like Swampert's like Frogger. You know, you go across a bunch of cars, but the difference between that is Swampert literally sprints. It sprints super fast because Hydro Cannon gets there really quickly. So yeah. So Swampert's definitely the water type you will see the most. As far as resistance goes, Nidoqueen actually has a bunch of resistances all against a lot of relevant meta. For example, electric types in Galvantula. Galvantula is probably the biggest one you'll see. course, it also resists other poison types, so the thing about Nidoqueen, like other poison types like Drapions, like other poison jabs, etc., it does resist that as well. So that makes it really interesting. Ironically, most poison types that have poison type attacks will also be poison type. So you're like, yes, this matters, but at the same time, like, unless it's like an Alolan Muck that's trying to acid spray you to death, like, it's kind of like a neutral thing. And also, you do resist Bug, Fairy, which is Charmers, which is really good, and Fighting for counter users, which is also very good as well. You also resist Rock, so guess what? Those Bastions are trying to smack you down. It's not Tuesday night today, or Friday night. So, that means you're going to kill Bastion very likely. So, Bastion does go down to Nidoqueen pretty hard, especially if you hit it with an Earth Power. Now, as far as its moveset goes, the reason why Nidoqueen is so good is because Poison Jab got buffed. Poison Jab went from 8 energy to 9 energy, I believe, and because of that, Poison Jab is essentially like well, actually, I think was it 8 to 9 energy, or just does more damage? Anyways, we'll review that later. So, again, Poison Jab does more damage. Like, Poison Jab got buffed, as well as Poison Fang, as you see, as well as it got Poison Fang. So, this actually hasn't been updated yet, which is why I haven't seen it, but yes, you get Poison Jab and Poison Fang, which debuffs your defense. It also has Earth Power and Earthquake. So Earth Power overall is better. It's the recommended one because it costs less energy and it does more. It's gonna get there. You're gonna get to Earth Power in a lot more scenarios than you would with Earthquake. So very, very powerful. Very, very good. And speaking of Pokemon like an Earthquake, Nidoqueen does have Earthquake too. So yeah. Kind of expensive on the starter side. As you see here, it's 500k dust. You also need a Nidoqueen that's below level 22. I think 22 is the max, so you kind of need one that's around, like, you kind of need one with low attack. If you have low attack, it can go like, go past level 20. But again, on the starters wise, it's not 10k dust, it's 50k dust, so it's also a little expensive. Semi-expensive. 100k is, of course, the expensive side. 75k being, or 100k is very expensive, actually. 75 is expensive, and then 50 is like, okay. So 50k is still a decent amount of dust to chunk out. And, of course, this is the normal one. As far as the Shadow one goes, as you see here, we go to Shadow version. Right here, we go to Shadow, and then as you see Shadow, the only difference between Shadow and normal one is that Shadow has less defense and then gains more attack. But again, because of that difference, you will see a difference between the Shadow Nidoqueen and regular Nidoqueen. There is a little bit of a difference, and actually, depending on which position you'll see a big difference or a minuscule difference, especially in the closer. Alright, as I always say, please consider contributing to pvpoke.com, as you see here. So, if we go to the moveset rankings, so this is just going to review the moves real quick, as far as like charge moves goes and fast moves. So Poison Jab does more damage. I think it got like 1 more point of damage. 2-turn move, as you see here. So overall Poison Jab damage will kind of add up, especially with the Poison Fangs by debuffing your opponent. So basically Poison Fang debuffing is, well, poison is like your Charmer's worst nightmare. But as you see here, that's what it does basically. And Poison Sting got 1 more energy. So Poison Sting is like basically a Psycho Cut and a Mudshot clone. It went from 8 energy to 9 energy as a 2-turn move. As far as charge moves goes, as you see here for Poison type, so wait, hold on, why is it showing? Okay, there you go. Okay, for Poison type, as you see here, Poison Fang will debuff you by 1 stage. Costs 35 energy, so it will still take about, I think, let's see, 74 to 5 poison. So 5 Poison Jabs will get you to Poison Fang, and of course, other poison types or other poison moves were buffed as well. So Acid Spray costs less energy, and as you see, Cross Poison over here, Cross Poison got a buff for like. Cross Poison is basically like Night Slash. So Cross Poison, as you see, is 50 damage. Night Slash also, it's basically a Night Slash clone now, because you get that attack debuff. As far as Earth Power goes, as you see here, so for Earth Power, it's 55 energy. So the thing about Earth Power, it's going to take, I believe, let's see, 7, 14, 15, yes, I'm doing math right now for you. Is it 9? Yeah, 9 times 7 is 56, right? Yeah, so it takes 9. It will take 9 Poison Jabs before you get to Earth Power. Why am I doing math on a video? Alright, so here's the pvpoke.com rankings. As you see here, there's not too much of a difference, but like I said in a lot of comments, it depends what position it's in. As you see here, overall, Shadow is better than the normal one, in my opinion, for what it flips. Being able to flip Azu and Deoxys defense is a big deal, because Azu, I've seen a lot of Azus I've seen a lot of Azus start to rise more for some odd reason, even though poison types have been buffed. A lot of Azu safe switching. I've seen Azu kind of take a, yeah, it's kind of back. Well, it's gotten more popular than the Weather Ballers than what I've seen. But actually, Politoed I've seen a lot too, so it just depends. As far as Nidoqueen goes, as you see, there is a small difference. Shadow doesn't beat Alola Marowak. Regular one can, so the extra bulk does allow you to squeeze out against certain matchups versus the other one. Shadow Nidoqueen can take out Umbreon, while the regular one cannot. So you kind of flip meta-relevant matchups, but again, we'll see in the Matrix exactly what Shadow and normal. That's the best assessment of what flips and what doesn't flip. So again, Matrix is gonna tell us a lot more about this. The leads, as you see right here, as a lead, Shadow Nidoqueen is better than the normal type one. As you see here, same like minuscule rating, but 23 positions does matter a lot overall. Also, being able to do more damage with Poison Jab, that Shadow damage adds up, which is what it's a lot of comparison like Shadow Machamp versus regular Machamp. That extra Shadow damage actually matters. I wouldn't recommend using Nidoqueen as a switch. As you see, it drops off way more as a switch. Like, that's why if you watched my Go Battle Night edition of top Great League teams, that's not a surprise to see why Nidoqueen's in the lead versus any other position. And in the closer, of course, Nidoqueen also drops off. At number, actually the switch is his worst position, but as you see in the closer, it does fall off. Now, the thing is, in the closer, yes, the 4 positions don't really matter. Like, Nidoqueen is actually better. However, I personally think Shadow Nidoqueen is better as a closer. Just because if you're in the closer, you're trying to basically finish your opponent. If you end up Nidoqueen in the back, you're hoping that your Shadow, your, like, damage matters. For example, if you get Nidoqueen versus a Galarian Stunfisk and Nidoqueen, you need that extra, like, 10 damage. Nidoqueen Shadow, there is a difference between Nidoqueen Shadow and regular Nidoqueen's finishing ability. So, Nidoqueen Shadow Pokemon do have higher kill ranges. So, again, even though statistically Nidoqueen's a little better, the regular one, I think the Shadow one does serve better. Just because, again, if you don't have shields, you're most likely trying to nuke your opponent to death. And Shadow Nidoqueen does a good job at nuking you to death. Alright, so this is the part you probably all skipped to. This is the PvPoke.com Matrix with Nidoqueen. So, if you've ever watched Jujutsu Kaisen, or rather, if you watch the Demon Train movie, if you watch Mugen Train, if you guys watch Demon Slayer, it's a great freaking anime. You know, like the poison, the like train that was like infecting everyone or putting everyone to sleep, kind of like yeah, that's basically what Nidoqueen does. Nidoqueen infects your opponent with Poison Jab and it like nukes you with Earth Power. Because of that, I'm not going to look at IVs. I'll look at bulk and breakpoints, but in all honesty, I just get the highest rank you possibly can. Because of the way Nidoqueen's played, you're either going to Earth Power through shields or Poison Fang and then farm your opponent down. So, in a lot of those scenarios, you aren't really going to rely on 1 HP in a Dream scenario. So, 1 HP in a Dream can happen with any scenario, but again, the way Nidoqueen is played, I'm not going to go too deep into IVs. Just get the highest rank you possibly can. As you see here, we already have the Great League meta to the right. We have the 2 shield. I'm going to hit battle. As you see here, I did a little bit of research beforehand. So here's the thing. With Bastiodon, the thing about Shadow Nidoqueen versus regular, this is a big one. You lose against Bastiodon. Yes, it sounds crazy, but the reason you lose against Bastiodon is because Bastiodon double resists Poison Jab. It also double resists Poison Fang. So the thing about Shadow, the thing about the regular version, so I'm going to go through the Shadow version, but the regular version, you have to land a poison, you have to Earth Power through shields. You can't straight Earth Power to death. As you see with Nidoqueen right here, you could possibly try it, like you could double, as you see here, you could Earth Power, shield, Earth Power, if they shield, you could double Earth, so if you bait a shield, great, and then you could straight Earth Power. Or right here, you could straight Earth Power here. So do this, go Earth Power, and then poof. So you could Poison Jab and then straight Earth Power, or you could just do this, or Earth Power and then do that. So as you see here, you have to bait at least 1 shield, or you have to Poison Jab and then Earth Power. You can't just straight Earth Power because Bastiodon will unfortunately live, just because as you see Poison Jab will do 1 damage. So, land a Poison Jab, then Earth Power, and then attempt to Earth Power through shields. But Shadow Nidoqueen has a better matchup than regular Nidoqueen does, simply because of simply because Nidoqueen, as you see here, is it's higher kill range for Shadow. So, the extra Shadow damage actually does matter against Bastiodon. So, a lot better of a matchup against Bastiodon than Nidoqueen. But yes, Bastiodon does have a little bit of a leg up on you. You have to be a little fancy against Bastiodon. Regular Nidoqueen will beat Cresselia. You will get a neutral one against regular. You don't want to be against Cresselia anyways because Cycle Cut does super effective damage against you. Again, you don't want to be, yeah, you don't want to be lined up against Cresselia. Also, even though Grass Knot does do neutral damage, Cresselia does get to its moves a heck of a lot faster than you do, and it's tanky. So, again, I would like just either try to play the matchup out or just sacrifice Shadow Nidoqueen overall. Regular Nidoqueen can beat Cresselia, but I wouldn't say this is that like relevant. As you feed for Shadow version, the Shadow version does flip the Frostless matchup, which is pretty huge actually considering Frostless, but I think you do have to double bait. This is a bait dependent matchup. Same thing with Ferrothorn. Ferrothorn, as far as regular Nidoqueen goes, I don't think you could just go straight I don't think you could go straight poison. Actually, you can. So you can go just straight poison jab. And that little, yes, you can. Okay, so I'm wrong. I read that sim wrong the first time I saw it. So you can go straight poison jab, regular one. I've seen Ferrothorn around a little bit, but I wouldn't worry about it too much. As you see here, the Shadow Nidoqueen is able to take out Lapras, and it's also able to take out Pelipper. This is the big one. So being able to take out Pelipper is a big one, because Pelipper is very, very strong in the 2-shield, and you can literally just poison jab it to death. Regular Nidoqueen can't. It will beat you in CMP. It will beat you in CMP, and because you don't have the extra shadow damage, it will KO you. So that's why regular Shadow Nidoqueen is essentially, yeah, it's really freaking good. Our Shadow Nidoqueen does have a leg up, just because it flips more relevant meta matchups than regular Nidoqueen does. With Politoed, this one's really iffy with the Politoed matchup, as you see here. If they get one extra, like as you see here, so if they get one mud shot through your charge moves here, then essentially you die. So just be very careful, because this Vive 10 is very, very close. So again, if you lose a turn or anything like that, or if they get an extra mud shot through, it could possibly spell death for you. As far as every other matchup, as you see here, everything is generally the same. The reason why 2-shield matters, again, Shadow Nidoqueen does have a really good matchup against Bastion. Bastion can still beat you compared to the regular one, but that and Pelipper. Those are two pretty big matchups in the 2-shield. I went a little in-depth in the 2s just because, like, the lead is where you'll see it the most, but again, just because of that Bastion matchup that's why Bastion and Pelipper, that's why Shadow's so good. As you see here, the 1-shield is also kind of a little bit of a, like, Shadow also takes the cake in the 1-shield, mostly because of Azumarill. So Azumarill is a big deal. In the 2-shields, you can beat Azumarill with Shadow Nidoqueen. With Red Nidoqueen, you can as well, but you lose the 1-shield. So as you see here, you win the 2-shield, but lose the 1 and 0s. So that's pretty huge against Azumarill. That's because, again, extra shadow damage matters. You also flip Cresselia just because of the shadow damage. You also beat Bastion much more convincingly. You could straight Earth Power in this scenario. And as you see here, you could also win against Ferrothorn. So, you can win against Ferrothorn. You also beat Manos. You also beat Medicham. So, in the 1-shield against an XL Medicham, yes, you can beat it. So, as you see here, yes, it's a little bit of a tight matchup. However, you could Poison Fang and then Earth Power. So, you can't just straight Poison Fang it to death. You have to land Earth Power. However, if you actually bait the shield, as you see here, even if you don't do it, it still takes quite a bit of damage. So, you could also do this to where if you don't shield, you cannot shield, like, don't shield the Ice Punch. You can eat one Ice Punch, shield the Psychic. So, as long as you shield the Psychic, Shadow Nidoqueen wins. So, again, a lot of fancy things you can do with Shadow Nidoqueen versus the regular one just because of the poison damage that adds up. You could also beat Manabuzz, and you could also beat, let's see, what's the other one? Oh yeah, Umbreon. So the 1-shield against Venusaur and Umbreon. So as you see, it's very specific, but Shadow Nidoqueen does take the cake against a lot of really popular matches. Yes, you're gonna die against Shadow Victory Bell, but Shadow Victory Bell sucks anyway. Well, we all hate Shadow Victory Bell. As you see here, this one is very big. As you see here, you can beat Sableye with the regular one. So I covered Shadow. Now here's what the regular one flips. The only thing in the 1-shield that Shadow Nidoqueen or regular Nidoqueen really flips that's really notable. Marowak, yes, Marowak is one matchup that matters. However, I don't think it's bait dependent. I think the extra bulk will allow you to squeeze out a W. You can't just go straight Earth Power. So as you see here, Earth Power, go Earth Power. Okay, so you can't go straight Earth Power, but you barely live. So, against Alola Marowak, Alolan Marowak's one of them. The second one is Sableye. So as you see, Sableye right here in the one shield, you can beat Sableye. However, I don't think you could just go straight Earth Power. I think you have to bait. So as you see here, you have to. This is a bait dependent matchup. Yes, it is. So against Sableye, you have to bait, which sucks. Which kind of sucks, but if you can, at least if you can bait, you can win. Same thing with regular Sableye. As you see here against Shadow version, if you get the Shadow variant, here's what happens. You can't straight Poison Fang. Well, you don't ever get to a second one anyway. So, as you see here, you do have a chance versus Sableye. In my opinion, it's better that you flip Umbreon and Venusaur, because Venusaur and Umbreon are very popular. So Shadow, like, if you have to really weigh it out, Shadow does have more of an effect as far as, especially since you are able to beat Azu in the one shield. So, beating Azu is pretty huge. Again, Venusaur and Umbreon and Azu is a very good trade, especially since you could just go straight Poison Jab. So, that's the one shield. In the zeros, things get kind of dicey. Zeros is like where you don't want to be, but again, Shadow does have the leg up. In the zeros, this is a very uncomfortable situation. Anyways, as you see here, in the zeros, you can beat Altaria. With the regular one, well, actually, here's a bunch of Shadow beats. Shadow with nuke damage is able to beat yes, you can beat Meganium just because of Poison Jab damage. You beat Alolan Marowak. You beat Alolan Marowak. You also actually, you don't beat anything else with the Shadow version. The normal version in the closer, it does better. As you see here, you're able to beat Tropius, Umbreon, and you're able to beat Alolan Ninetales with Powder Snow. Powder Snow, Alolan Ninetales, as well as Altaria. So closer, Nidoqueen does better in the closer. But if you're in the closer with Nidoqueen like this, it's a little rough. So I personally don't like, me personally, like in a lot of scenarios where I've had Shadow Nidoqueen in the closer, unless I've had a really positive matchup, 9 times out of 10, I've either beaten my opponent or they beaten me. So yeah, but in the closer, Nidoqueen is better. But in the 2s and the 1s, Nidoqueen Shadow takes the cake. Now what I'm going to do here is in the 1 to 0s and the 2 to 0s. So now we're going to look at shield advantage. In the 1 to 0s, as you see here, 1 to 0s. In the 1 to 0s, Shadow takes the cake. And as you see here, it flips more relevant matchups, Frostless, etc. You even Frostless, Dugong. You also flip Swampert in the 1 to 0s versus the regular one, which is pretty huge considering Swampert is your worst nightmare. You're also, and then for the rest, majority you beat. In the as far as regular Nidoqueen goes, Nidoqueen doesn't flip as many. Nidoqueen does flip Pelipper, however, in the 1 to 0s. And in the 2 to 0s, as you see here, if you end up in the scenario and you have two shields with Nidoqueen, you'll basically wipe out everything except regular Nidoqueen doesn't beat Skarmory. This is a really rare scenario to get to in with Nidoqueen, though, so yeah. In the 2 to 1s, though, if you do have shield advantage, as you see here, if you have shield advantage, which in the 2 to 1s, you flip Dugong, which I don't see a lot of Dugongs nowadays, so not too much of a relevant one, and Shadow Victory Bell. So if you have shield advantage, regular Nidoqueen takes the cake. So again, very back and forth about what they pick, but the scenarios are so specific, it's just what it is. You go to the 2 shields, as you see here, if we go into the 2 shields, most of the time you'll lose against what you're going to lose against. For example, you'll lose against Ice types, you'll lose against Diggersby, anything that's ground, anything that hardwalls you, like Drifblim. Drifblim will hardwall you. Diggersby also gives you a hard time because of its ability to Earthquake and the fact that it's just really, it does resist poison as well because of that ground typing. Dugong will debuff you. Haunter also gives you a hard time because, again, poison and ghost does double resist you. Hypno absolutely deletes you, which is why you never want to be locked into a Hypno. Jellicent also gives you a hard time because of resist. So basically, anything that resists poison, like ghost types, will give you a very, very hard time. Anything that resists poison, which is ground and ghost types, will give you which is why Alolan Marowak will give you a hard time as well. And of course, other poison, like steel types will also give you a hard time, as you see with Skarmory. Skarmory will effectively wall you, and Galarian Stunfisk will also give you a very hard time. So basically, most of the things you're weak to, as in water types, so things that you are weak to, like ice and water type Pokemon, most of the time they'll kill you, which is why Politoed has a strong matchup against you, as well as, like I said, Skarmory and Swampert. So Skarmory, Swampert, Whiscash also because Poison is weak to ground, and Whiscash is also ground type, so it will resist your Poison types. So, again, it's very generic at what you'll lose against. If it does do super effective damage against you, 9 times out of 10, Shadow Nidoqueen will die. Or regular Nidoqueen, either one will die. Now, this is going to answer your question about break and bulk points. As you see, the break and bulk points don't really matter too much. Most of the break and bulk points of what you will beat and what you won't beat are like basically the matchups that you will lose, like you lose anyways. The only one that really matters is Lapras, as you see here. So, not, like I said, doesn't matter too much. The Shadow, what makes the most out of Shadow versus the regular one is actually the Shadow damage, as you see here. So, again, like, what makes the most of it is really the Shadow damage. Bulk points as well, as you see here, bulk points don't matter too much either. Bulk points, just basically what you eat. It's just so specific, so basically what I'm trying to say here, just get the highest rank you possibly can. And really what makes the difference is really the Shadow damage that adds up versus the IVs. Because like I said, IVs are very specific. In this case scenario, there's like, the matchups aren't so close to where it's going to suck. Unless you're using the regular one. So if you're using regular one, for example, if you have a really crappy, if you go against Politoed, and let's say you have a really crappy Shadow, or a really crappy regular Nidoqueen, this is assuming. So just assume you have like a real, let's say you have like a 15-13. So you have a high attack one. So let's assume you have a high attack one. Do this right here. Assume you have a high attack one, and then we're gonna do this. And then as you see, Politoed, if you have a high attack Nidoqueen, this is where IVs will pretty much matter. It's against Politoed. But that's pretty much the only matchup I see here where IVs will heavily matter. Other than that, what really makes the difference, again, is the Shadow damage. And, yeah, that's pretty much it. I pretty much covered the whole thing. In other words, if you want, in the nutshell, in the 2 and a 1 shield, Shadow Nidoqueen does better, which is why it's in the lead, it's so strong. And in the zeros and with shield advantage, basically the regular version's better. However, Nidoqueen, the regular version doesn't flip a lot of matchups you will see. In other words, the regular one doesn't flip a lot of meta matchup, like super meta matchups in a lot of scenarios. And that's it. So, in the overall nutshell, Shadow Nidoqueen is better, but the regular one, there's not, like, in my opinion, like, if I had to really put it out there, the regular one also works very well as well. I've gotten opinions on both versions, and honestly, both versions are fine. In a lot more scenarios, the Shadow one will do better. This is why you see a lot of people using the Shadow version, but also why the Shadow version was featured in the PvP top teams, because in the 2 shield, Shadow Nidoqueen does better than the Shadow version will do better than its regular cousin, just because the Shadow damage is what really makes the difference with Shadow Nidoqueen versus regular Nidoqueen. It's not really IV dependent, it's more Shadow damage dependent. Like I mentioned, if you watch The Matrix, it's a lot like Machamp. So, Shadow Nidoqueen is the better version of the 2 in a lot more scenarios. Because if you end up in the zeros, you have no shields anyways, you're gonna, 9 times out of 10, you're probably gonna be in a scenario where you're gonna have to nuke. And if you don't nuke, you die. It's that simple. So, just keep that in mind. Shadow Nidoqueen is a beast. And like I said, there's really nothing wrong with either version. If you really like Shadow Nidoqueen that much, I would say both of them are fine. Use either one, whichever one you're comfortable with. It's just overall, like in a lot of scenarios, Shadow Nidoqueen will be better just because of Shadow damage and Shadow Nuke damage. So, there you go. Now you have the verdict. So, statistically and like data-wise, again, Shadow Nidoqueen is better in more scenarios. If you guys enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. I put that little, as you see here, if you scrolled, if you follow the sound of my voice and you put your mouse to the bottom right, you see that little box right there? If you put your mouse on it, it will easily pop up the sub button, and then you could click it. That way you don't have to scroll down or anything like that. You can literally just put it down there, click on that, and boom, you are subscribed. It's totally free, helps out the channel a lot, and I really do appreciate the support. If you guys enjoyed the video, comment next. If you have anything you want to analyze, like, let me know and I'll put it in the comments and I'll take a look at it. But because Nidoqueen was such like a hot topic, might as well put a video out on it, analyzing what it does And lo and behold, again, Shadow does better in more scenarios, but there's nothing wrong with using the regular version as well. Just be aware your nuke damage is going to be less, and along with that, in a lot of scenarios or like meta scenarios, you're gonna have to pull, the regular one will have to pull a little more weight. So that's pretty much it. Again, if you would like, please like and subscribe, really helps out the channel. Good luck on your Go Battle League sets, and I will see you guys on the next video.
Ciao!